with F4S. This event is sponsored by Skills Development Scotland in celebration of Scottish Apprenticeship Week. My name is Kath and I'll be hosting the session today. We are joined by teachers and their pupils from all over Scotland, so welcome to you all and thank you for coming. In this session, we'll be exploring careers in digital and technology. Our speakers will provide insights from their experience, lessons they have learned, and they'll give you tips to motivate and inspire you to make informed decisions about your future and also get you thinking about apprenticeships. So can all attendees ensure that the audio and video function is turned off throughout the session? You will be able to ask questions using the chat function. There will also be some poll questions posted and you'll have seen them coming up on the screen. It would be great if the teachers can take the time to ask their class these questions and post the majority answers. We are recording this session and it will be featured on our YouTube channel. So we want you to sit back, enjoy the presentations, make some notes and think about any questions you may wish to ask the speakers. So this session is looking at jobs in cybersecurity and data science, both growing sectors within the tech and digital world. But before we introduce our speakers, here's a welcome from our sponsor, Claire Gillespie from Skills Development Scotland, who explains why a career in the digital and technology sector could be the right choice for you.
I'm Claire and I work in digital economy skills at Skills Development Scotland. Skills Development Scotland is Scotland's national skills and careers agency, so you might know our website called My World of Work, or spoken with one of our careers advisors who are based in your school. And one of our jobs is to make sure you have the right information and advice to make decisions about what job and education pathways you take after school. So I'm really delighted today to introduce you to the Digital Skills in the Spotlight events, and I hope you enjoy hearing about the different types of jobs and apprenticeships which you can do in areas like cybersecurity, in data and in creative technology. But just before you get started and begin hearing about all these amazing opportunities, I wanted to provide you with a little bit of background to put about what you're about to hear into context. So did you know how important technology jobs are to the Scottish economy and how many people work in tech jobs in Scotland? Right now there are around 100,000 people working in tech jobs, and each year we need another 13,000 people to be trained to fill the jobs which become available. That's an awful lot of opportunities that you could be working towards gaining a qualification to enter at a later stage. And lots of these jobs have really good salaries and really excellent career pathways, so you could progress into much more senior and much more different and interesting roles at a later stage. And the reason we need all these tech people, and we don't just need them in Scotland, we need them right across the world, is because we're all using so much tech everyday life. For example, every month the world watches 6 billion hours of YouTube videos. That's massive, and that's just YouTube. There's lots of other platforms out there like Instagram and Facebook, not to mention all the gaming and shopping sites people use every day for life and for work. And another example of how important technology is, 4 billion people in the world have got mobile phones. That's more than half the world's population have a mobile that they use. Think about all the phone calls, all the text messages and all the online activity being done on these phones every day of the week. And that's just the phones. We also have billions of laptops and other devices we all use regularly as well. So with all this tech around us, think about all the people we need to work in these roles. We need people in cybersecurity roles, data scientists and web developers. But it's not just about technology skills. We also need people who can design, who can communicate with customers and who can lead technology teams as well. And it isn't just about the technology industry that you could be working in. Every sector in Scotland requires technology professionals. So you could be working in the financial services industry to make sure that the apps and the online websites we use for banking and buying things online are secure. Or you could get a tech job in the tourism industry, which might involve digital marketing to find new customers or creating an online platform so that customers can book hotels or venues. And there's even opportunities in the farming and agricultural industry. In fact, there's actually some really interesting tech developments which helps farmers monitor the health of their cows and their sheep, or where farmers use drones to monitor and keep an eye on their land. And I'm sure we can all imagine how technology is a really big part of developing solutions to the climate emergency, which I know so many of us are really passionate about. So as you're all listening to the amazing speakers today, try and imagine how you could fit into a digital skills job in Scotland. It could offer you the opportunity to be involved in really innovative technology, but in a context that you're really passionate about, such as working in the environment, working in healthcare, or even the gaming industry. And remember, there's lots of ways into digital jobs, so you don't have to go to university if that's not the right thing for you. So you'll also hear today about opportunities such as doing a technology foundation apprenticeship at school, or doing a modern or graduate apprenticeship in technology when you move into employment at a later stage. So have a really great day. I hope you're truly inspired because I believe the future really is digital. And if you want to find out more about digital careers, why not check out our website, digitalworld.net.
Well, thank you for that video, Claire. And thank you to our speakers for joining us today and for agreeing to share your story. We're really looking forward to hearing all about you and what you do. So welcome to Pauline, who is an apprentice from PwC, and Ian, who is a reservist from the British Army and works in cybersecurity. Our first speaker is Pauline, so without further ado, we'll pass you over to you, Pauline.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Pauline, and I'm a data science degree apprentice, both at the University of Edinburgh and at PwC. So what exactly does that mean? So a degree apprentice is basically working both with a business and with a university or a learning provider. So here I am studying at the University of Edinburgh and working on work placement at PwC. My degree is 4 years in total, so I spent my first 2 years entirely at university and having work placement during the summer. And for the third and fourth year, I'm spending only half of my year, my first semester at university, and having a full-time work placement with PwC during my second semester. So I'm studying data science. So at university, for example, I have a lot of informatics courses. So programming with different coding languages. I've learned about Python, about Java, and more about software engineering. So how to properly code different kinds of applications, websites, and how to have the best practices and how to properly collaborate with other coders and programmers. But as I've said, my program is not literally computer science. It is about data science. And data science makes itself different by going a little bit more about machine learning, predictions. And we do that, but looking a little bit more into mathematics. So we're looking at more specifically statistics, because statistics is the mathematical tool that is the most helpful for any kind of predictions, looking at numbers for the future. So I have a lot of other courses about more mathematical stuff at university. And all of that can be, of course, used during my work placement. So currently I am on my work placement at PwC. So PwC is mainly known for audit, but is very recently trying to develop more on their technical side. And I've joined a team called Deals, Insight and Analysis. So this line of service and this team is focused on helping clients to either sell or buy part of a whole business. And for this, we need to receive data from them, analyze them, possibly do some predictions on the numbers, revenues, any kind of data that they would want to know of, either in the past or any kind of analysis for the future. And that will help them make the most of and the best decision for the future. So one of the questions that a lot of people can ask me is how I ended up here and why I decided to choose that path. Well, I actually come from the French system. I had a French baccalaureate, and what motivated me through that is just that I was always passionate about technology. It was always very interesting and motivating for me to see how fast it's growing, and I really wanted to be part of this evolution. I didn't want to just sit back and look at it and use it. I wanted to be really coding it and being part of all these innovations. So I joined data science more specifically because I can really see on a day-to-day basis how we can use it to help businesses, and specifically during the COVID pandemic, PwC has been aiming to help businesses recover and develop even during these very tough times. Yeah, that is pretty much me. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, absolutely do not hesitate in the chat. So, yep.
Great, Pauline, thank you for that. We do have some more questions for you, but we'll ask them later. Ian, if we can pass over to you and hear your story. You have a background in cybersecurity, which I think is something a lot of young people want to get into, and we know there are apprenticeships out there that people can take advantage of. But if you want to tell us a little bit about your story now, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Staff Sergeant Ian Robson. I'm currently an Army reservist within Royal Signals unit based out of Glasgow, I'm personally over in Belfast, which is one of the outlying squadrons. So how am I where I am now? Effectively, a little bit of background. I did 23 years as a regular soldier, as a communications systems engineer. And then when I finished that, my time there, they call colour service, I had to get out. So what was I going to do? So I obviously joined the Army Reserve straight away. It was money for old rope, but more in the cybersecurity field, which I'll come back to in a moment. But also in a civilian point of view, I needed to get a job. So I went out and actually became a systems engineer. Systems engineer for a company that had a huge influence in the cybersecurity world, as well as, I mean, my specific role was more in the artificial intelligence and coding field, and making bespoke equipment for different government organisations around the world. From there, I was headhunted to a actual cybersecurity firm, and I'm currently a cybersecurity senior consultant for a company. I'd rather not say who it was, but out of Northern Ireland, and that we do all sorts of things. So in my normal daily work, every day is different, and this is one of the best things about cybersecurity, is that every day is completely different. So I have been contracted out to do threat hunting. So threat hunting in the cyber field is when you do a proactive security search throughout networks, computer endpoints, data sets, and you're looking for indicators of attack or indicators of compromise, of potential bad actors which are inside the network. So as an example, you would have heard on the TV when SolarWinds was hacked. It's a product that is used all over the place, and there was a advanced persistent threat who managed to get into the code base of that, and they had access to a lot of different companies' data for a long time. So threat hunting is one element. I also do incident response. So if there is an incident, so a company gets hacked, for example, I'd be one of the people that they would parachute in, not literally, although I've done that. I would get parachuted in to coordinate the response. So what they would do, so the confirmation, containment, eradication, response. So all the different elements that the multiple different cyber frameworks allow, I'd be the person that would bring in for that. Also, SOC analyst at level 3. Tabletop incident response. We also run exercises so that you can gauge how well a company would work for that, and also being brought in to do audits on different companies if they don't think that their perimeter and internal security is up to scratch, or they just wanted testing out. Not to be confused with pen testing, although I've sort of dabbled in pen testing a bit as well. But so that is more the civilian point. Really good for me. I get to see the changing cyber attack surfaces from a military point of view and from a civilian point of view. So I sort of see the best of both worlds there. So moving back sort of where I started into the Army Reserve role, I'm currently leading a group of individuals within 32 Signal Regiment in a cyber pathway. So they're all cybersecurity professionals, but they're doing a normal Royal Signals Army Reserve role first, and then doing the cyber pathway as an extra, with the vision that it will move into a more permanent cyber role towards the end. Cyber is definitely where the future is, and it's absolutely fantastic. I've been into computing since I was a little boy. My dad had his own sort of small computer business. I ended up doing a computing degree through the Open University whilst I was still serving. That started off on the network pathway, but then moved over to programming. I quite enjoy programming. I'm not the best at it, I've got to say. But the programming, what I would say about programming, you need to keep doing it. Absolutely, you need to keep doing it, and that's what gets you good at it. I had to do a JavaScript exam, for example, and there was no computers. It was all handwritten, which is absolutely crazy. That's about it. So I'll field questions. Otherwise, I'll just keep talking, and then before you know it, the 30 minutes will be up. So yeah, if there is any questions related to either, like I said, the cybersecurity field for on a civilian part, or from the Army Reserve part. I mean, the awesome thing about the Army Reserves is you can take an apprenticeship and also join the Army Reserve, so you can have both hand in hand. It's not a case of either or.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, Ian. We do have some questions for you as well. But first of all, if we can go back to Pauline. Pauline, what can young people that are watching today, what can they do to help prepare them for an apprenticeship?
Yeah, so for any kind of apprenticeship, you'll most likely be faced with an interview, one or several interviews. So there are several types that you can go through, but one of the most popular one, and one you'll probably have to try out, is the general personal questions. So one of my typical advice is go online, try to see what kind of questions you could be asked about your personality, about the way you work, about what you like to do, and your way of working with others. What are your strengths, your weaknesses? And interviews are not something that you know how to do the first time you go at it. You really need to train. Ask some people to have play interviews with you, mock interviews. So sit down with someone, be serious, take it really seriously, because that is what you need to do to properly train, to know even how you sit down on the chair, how to behave when you enter the room. These are stuff that are really important for your potential future employer. And other kind of interviews that sometimes more social companies like to do, more businesses that are client facing, are little game interviews. So you're going to have a challenge, a problem, and you will try to solve that. So that is a little bit more a surprise than anything else, but try to revise any kind of basic knowledge you have on mathematics, if that's what the job is about, or about business in general. Another advice would be to look at the news. It's always interesting to compare the challenge to what's happening in the world in the last few days, few weeks, and bring that into your interview and in the response to that kind of challenge, because that will show that you are interested about the world, the business world as well. So yes, do get information about whoever you're going to interview for, because you are kind of, people are waiting for you to get some information about where you want to apply, and that will show your interest. So yeah, do prepare for these kind of tasks.
Yeah, very good advice, Pauline. And just for the teachers that are watching, Founders for Schools do also offer an employability skills session. So if you want mock interviews to set up for your pupils, we can certainly do that. But one of the other questions that we were asked for you, Pauline, was what was the split between studying and working? But you have answered that one. But how did you find then, did you feel that you missed out on a lot of the social life at school, or the student life, the holidays, because you were working, or did you think it was an advantage to keep working?
So during my first 2 years, I was a full-time student at university during study time. So I was just a regular student, so I had nothing to lose out on both sides. But during my work placement, not only do I also have other apprentices with me to make me feel as part of a group, but being part of and working during the entire day, being in the office, doesn't mean that I can't attend student events outside of my work. So I really didn't feel left out or anything. I would always join clubs and societies, go for drinks with other students, be it in the same program as me or regular university students. So really, it's not because you have work part-time or in full-time work placement that you can't have regular contacts with other students and have a proper student life. You can have flatmates, you can go to clubs and societies, you can be active in the community, in the student community committees, all of that. And of course, you have fellow apprentices, sometimes even in the same company, in same businesses, that can follow along through. And also because at university, you have such huge cohorts of students of several hundred sometimes. When you have a smaller cohort in work placement, you feel closer to these people, and they have a closer experience to what you have. You really have pretty much the same courses, same teams at work, same kind of work, and they can really relate to what you're feeling right now. And it's really helpful to have this group to back you up as well.
Yeah, that's really good. And the other big benefit, of course, is that you earn while you're learning as well, which is good. So just taking that a little bit further, did you find it an advantage in your studies to have the work placement and be in work with people that were experienced in what you were studying? Were they able to help you with things that you maybe found a struggle with in your studies?
Yeah, so when you're at university, most of the time you work pretty much alone. It's very rare when you have teamwork with other students. And in general, it doesn't work as well as you would like it to be, because you don't necessarily know the person. You have to be lucky that the person likes to be like working with you in the same environment. But at work, not only do we get to apply the skills that we learned during lectures and during our courses, but we also have people who are motivated and will be with you whenever you need it. And depends on the business, but in most businesses, when you work in a team, you really rely on each other to work together and to communicate really often. And when you're in office the whole day, be it with COVID, if COVID allows, you can have your coworkers really next to you, pop by and say, hey, I have a problem on this, can you help? And most of the people, unless you're with very mean people, which is rare, they will be there to help you out. And in PwC, there's really that community feeling of even if that person is not available or cannot help, you will have plenty of others to ask for. And yes, this environment is very, very productive. And at work, you also have different ways of using the tools that you learned at university. And you also have additional ones that are more business specific. So for example, I had what's called the experience of learning Excel, the basic formulas, but the way PwC is using Excel is entirely different from what I've been using at university or even before in high school. So it gives a whole new insight on how to use the skills we've learned at university, but how to develop them further, and also new softwares and new things that the business uses on a day-to-day basis.
So all great advantages and make you a much more valuable person going forward.
Yeah.
One final question for you just now, and then I've got some for Ian, and we might come back if we've got time. So PwC, do they have apprenticeship opportunities just now that anybody listening to your great story can go and access? Is there a website that they can?
Yes, so they have both apprenticeships and degree apprenticeships. So apprenticeships is just joining PwC for both the learning and working experience. And then you have degree apprenticeships with different universities in England. Unfortunately, the degree is not available in Scotland anymore. But in England, they have 3 universities with whom they work. And you can have the same experience as I had, meaning alternating between full university time and full work placements. So I believe there's Belfast, Leeds, and Birmingham.
Okay, great, thank you. Right, Ian, on to you now. Looking back to the beginning of your career, was cybersecurity a thing?
The beginning of my career was all the way back in 1996. So I am that old. So cyber wasn't as big as it is now. All the different companies which are now household names, they were just starting to form. So it was still dial-up technologies. Cyber wasn't as big a field. So I'd always had an interest in computers. I was really interested in coding. I started my A level with looking at coding, and it was something that I put on the back foot when I actually joined the military. So I went into it, become a systems engineer and technician. So, but it was more computer-based communication-based systems than computing. It was only later on in my career when the computing element sort of caught up, and I started getting back into it.
Yeah, I mean the sort of development within the digital and technical world in that time must have been huge, and looking to the future, it is probably going to be huge again. And we may even, the people watching today, the jobs might not even be invented that they are going to be doing. So, but I think cybersecurity is always going to be ongoing, and there will always be a job in that. So it's a really good field for people to sort of enter into.
It's a change. It changes every single day. So every day, have you ever heard the phrase "every day is a school day"? But you're literally looking at new techniques that attackers are using, which you need to mitigate against. There are so many zero-day vulnerabilities. So 0 days are a vulnerability in software which has been around for a while that no one knew had the specific vulnerabilities, and attackers found a way to actually utilize this in an attack. But these are coming out every single day. If you're looking at the right sort of types of news, so, hacking news, for example, they are showing on a daily basis. In the last 2 weeks, there's been 4 zero-day vulnerabilities already been shown out. This year alone, there's been some of the worst vulnerabilities you can imagine. So one was called Log4j, and that pretty much hit about 80% of all existing infrastructure. There's just so much out there. So it is a constantly evolving field.
Yeah, good. Now, you've mentioned hacking a lot, and we've all heard about hacking, but one of the questions we got asked was about ethical hacking. So can you explain a little bit more about what that is? And
yeah, absolutely. So there's three types of hackers. You get a white hat, a sort of black hat hacker. I'll start off with the bad ones. A black hat hacker would be what you would see probably on TV. So someone who is hacking into a system or a company for malicious purposes. So whether it's to install ransomware and blackmail the company or just data exfiltration. And then you get white hat hackers, which are the other end. So people who are hacking systems, but they're doing it for good. So generally they'll have permission, but even the ones that don't, they will give those vulnerabilities that they find to the companies so that they can strengthen their security, totally free. And then you get somewhere in the middle, you get the grey hat hackers who do it potentially not without permission, but still in a good manner. So the ethical hacking piece comes in when it comes to things like penetration testing, for example. So if you're doing a penetration test of a site, you would be utilizing the exact same cyber kill chain that the attacker would use, depending on the level of ethical hack that you're doing. So whether that be a black box test, so you know nothing about the company, or the differing levels where you can be doing internal penetration tests or from different elements. But there's always, when it comes to ethical hacking, there's certain elements of the network that are off limits that the attackers potentially wouldn't have off limits. So SCADA systems, for example, so things which are production systems, Internet of Things devices. There's so many different elements that would be off limits for an ethical hacker as opposed to an attacker coming in. So it's all about strengthening the network. Effectively, it's all about making sure that any potential vulnerabilities or threats are mitigated by the security teams, and that's what an ethical hacker would find.
Okay, and so what do you enjoy most about your job?
I've literally just been about to get commissioned next week. So I would say leading people is the best part of my job, which is very generic, I know, but the more on the cybersecurity side, the best part of my job would be its diversity. And I get stuck when it comes to wanting to learn new things. So if something happens or there's a new element of technology found or a new pathway. So when cloud computing came out, I absolutely threw myself straight into it. Started doing artificial intelligence courses, cloud-based security courses, just because I wanted to know how it all worked. And I'm very, it's a sort of advantage and a disadvantage that I will end up going down these different pathways because I want to know how that technology works. And then as quick, the next one comes up and then it's on to the next one. So it's just constantly trying to keep up. I love all elements of my job. To answer the question right at the beginning, I absolutely love all elements of my job.
Good. That's great. And I think that's a good message for the young people today. Do something that you like. And also the other message, you might not like to hear it, but you do continuously learn throughout your life. It doesn't just stop in school. We are coming to the end of our session today. So thank you both for joining us and sharing your story. I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say that it's been a great learning opportunity for us. Also want to thank the pupils and teachers for joining us today. For the young people watching, if you want more information on apprenticeship opportunities, you should take a look at the apprenticeship.scot website. And I know Claire mentioned the specific digital one earlier in the video. For teachers, if you do want to arrange another inspirational encounter event for your school or the mock interviews that Pauline was alluding to earlier, please do get in touch with us. After this event, you will be emailed a survey form. We would really appreciate if you could complete it, because we're always trying to continue to improve our service and give you what you need. This session will be on our YouTube channel, and all our sessions are. If you aren't already following us, we are also on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn and Instagram. But thank you again to our speakers today and to everyone for joining us, and we hope to see you on a future event.